How's it going, guys? My name is Michael and this is the Hobbyist Magic channel, encouraging you to stay a hobbyist at heart with your magic, whether you are a professional, semi-professional, or an actual hobbyist with magic and magic tricks. And today is going to be a top 10 of the best card tricks of all time, just in my opinion and kind of off the top of my head of what bubbled to the top from my almost 20 years of experience loving the learning and performing of magic, especially card magic. Some of these are products you can pick up, but some of these are also tricks that you can actually learn on this channel. And so I think you'll get a lot of value out of this video. Shout out to Magic Orthodoxy. I remember learning from his top 10s back in the day, so maybe there's some influence in here. There's other reviewers online that you should absolutely check out as well. Go support magic reviewers online. I definitely encourage watching multiple reviews for any products so you can get a good lay of the land, but hopefully this is a helpful list for you. So let's get into number 10 here, and that is going to be the Svengali deck. If you've been around Magic for a long time, you might think the Svengali deck is old hat or a little bit cliched. I mentioned this in a different video, but I've actually seen, not firsthand, but secondhand, watching another magician, how this can still kill. I told a little story in another video about how I was trying all these more esoteric tricks on my friends, and then we ran into a street performer and he literally just did kind of a standard Svengali deck performance, but he did it well. He did it with dexterity, and my friends were floored. I was very humbled by that experience because in the back of my head I thought, doesn't everybody know this is a trick deck? Doesn't everybody know that this is an old trick? But that didn't matter. And so I think that applies to any classic trick. You might be, running the risk of the novelty not, being there for a certain audience member, but you never know, right? And so the Svengali deck is still one that you shouldn't discredit or count out. I think it's a great trick. I would probably guess it's also a great learning trick, but even though it's good for beginners, it gives you kind of the fun of different, results you can conjure up for people. It's really, really well utilized if you do have some sleight of hand experience, because then you can move through a routine where, maybe you have them pick a card and it comes to the top, and then it comes to the top again. So it's a little bit like, oh, this is just an ambitious card at first. And then they can cut to the card, they can find it themselves. And then you cut the deck into 4 piles, and all of those piles show their card. And then you have that finisher of all the cards being their card. And then if you want to, as an extra flourish at the end, you can make them all turn back into different cards. I think that's kind of the routine that the person I saw street performing kind of do. And then I was reminded of the Svengali deck again when just a little demo of it went viral, of this kind of older gentleman doing a Svengali deck demo like at the magic store, right? So that's what a Svengali deck is. You can present all the cards as seeming to be different when dribbling the cards, and then you can show them as all being the same when dribbling the cards. And then within that, because of its capabilities to be able to do that, you can create a range of effects within that, as I just mentioned. It is a trick deck, it's not examinable, but the cool thing about the Svengali deck is you can get a lot of different routines out of it. Or I guess to put that a better way, you can get more time out of it. It's not just a one-trick pony per se. You can actually do a fully fledged routine with multiple magic moments, and I think that provides a lot of value so that you don't have to immediately be switching in and out of it to another deck or just to another routine with different props. Okay, next is card to wallet or card to pocket, which of course means that you have a range of options to pick from, but I think a card to wallet trick is a great ender to an ambitious card routine, or is just great as its own thing. And then I'll kind of lump in card to pocket with this as well, whether it's sleight of hand or otherwise that you're doing it. So some shout outs. I have the Hermes wallet. Ironically, I don't use the card to wallet feature from that because I believe it could have been stronger. So friends and other magicians I've researched would definitely recommend the Real Man's wallet. That one is like classic card to wallet staple, and I like it because it is obvious that there's some, the reveal makes it obvious that there is no seeming way that you could have gotten the card in there that quickly, because you kind of have to unclasp or unfold something. And that's why I don't think the Hermes wallet version is as strong necessarily, and why I think other versions are stronger. Anything that has like a zipper compartment or something you have to unclasp, I think that makes the card to wallet stronger, because then they're not just imagining you having snuck it in there, but that there shouldn't have been a way, there would have been no moment that you could have unzipped that zipper because they didn't see you do that. Card to pocket though, I would absolutely recommend the James Brown routine for card to pocket from the Insane Tricks kit from Illusionist. That's not a wholesale endorsement of that kit, although there was plenty of things that maybe weren't for me on the kit. There was also some real value I got out of that kit. But okay, we've done number 10 Svengali deck, number 9 was card to wallet. Next on the list, number 8, I would say is the Invisible deck. Now, ironically, I actually ranked Svengali deck higher than Invisible deck on one of my other lists, so you know, who knows, but when I kind of formulated this list, I kind of used Svengali deck as my honorable mention card trick, and then I worked my way up from here. So I guess that just goes to show how interchangeable these are and how close some of these gimmicked deck tricks are when you try to compare them. But Invisible deck is a great mentalism trick where spectator names any card and you make it appear face down in the deck. The reason we call it the Invisible deck now is because of a presentation that was come up with where you kind of mime having an invisible deck, and you have the spectator sort of use their imagination with you, and you can even be playful and have them pretend to grab things, and they grab a card, they turn it over, and they place it inside the deck, and then you produce a real deck and show that it matches, that card is face down, is reversed in the deck. It's a classic of Magic. It uses RNS, if you're familiar with that, and many of you will be familiar with it, but I've kind of gone in and out of how often I do it. I think the more I've been in Magic, the less I've done it, but I used to do it a lot more, and it would absolutely kill. I just don't know, and maybe this is just my anecdotal experience. I recently saw a magician perform live, and it didn't really have the impact that I think Invisible deck should, and that it used to have for me. But that's anecdotal. I think people are probably still absolutely killing with this Invisible deck, which I think just goes to show that it still comes down to presentation, right? And it comes down to just how you perform it. But for many, it is considered the best card trick of all time, so it definitely is worth a spot in this list. The next one might be a little surprising, but for me, I just like it, and that is WoW. I think the WoW gimmick is just really cool, and if you can find organic ways to use it, then that's all the better. Now, WoW by Masuda is a color-changing card trick that basically requires no sleight of hand. It's just the operation of the gimmick, which the operation is very simple. You put a card in this kind of card sleeve. The kind of way you can present it is like, was this your card? No. And then it transforms into their card, and it can be their signed card pretty easily. So like I said, the standard WoW maybe isn't so organic looking. It's just this kind of non sequitur card sleeve, but there are different versions that have made it look more organic. There's multiple wallet versions that have come out by now. There was Wallet from Luke Dancy, and then there's even more recent ones that I've seen. There was WoW Money from Lloyd Barnes, although that is unfortunately discontinued. And then in my case, a small contribution I feel that I've made is the idea to add a MagSafe ring to a standard WoW gimmick. That allows you to place it on the back of your phone. So for us modern phone users, it turns your WoW into a pretty convincing, in my opinion, phone wallet. Just that kind of like plasticky sleeve nature of the WoW gimmick seemed to me well set up to kind of present it as though it is a MagSafe wallet. And so if you're an iPhone user, or if you have like magnet capabilities on your phone, you can look into that. I have a video on the channel. It was also shared on the Murphy's Magic Saturday Sorcery teaching series, and people seemed to like that. So that's one thing you can look into. And then next in this half of the list, number 6, we have the Haunted deck. And I think this is one of the best, most amazing gimmicked card tricks you can do in kind of this section of gimmicks. And you can do it many different ways. I've been doing it with loops, or I guess I should specifically mention Penguin Ties. Spectator picks a card, it's placed back in the deck, and then the deck seems to magically cut itself, and then the selected card pops out. And depending on what version you use, it pops out in a variety of different ways. Regardless, the Haunted deck is a staple of Magic, and I think it's one of the strongest card tricks you can do. And as I'm kind of growing semi-professionally, trying to do more gigs, so far I've really seen some good response to this. Okay, so if you weren't aware already, I've kind of put gimmicked tricks into one half of this list, the top 10 to 6, and now in the top 5, the rest of these are going to be completely sleight of hand, or at least they require only a normal deck, except in one case I'm kind of cheating. There's one extra thing needed for one of them, but you will see which one that is. So next is the Gemini Twins card trick here at number 5. Gemini Twins, this is a mentalism effect of sorts where from a shuffled deck, the spectators themselves are able to deal down to and find the 2 mates of 2 of the cards in the deck. I think this is super strong, and like I said, this is one of those that you can learn on my channel. There's other free tutorials for it online as well, as it is a classic trick of magic. And with some of these self-working tricks, because this is one that you could kind of call self-working after one little bit of prep, these can become easily discounted. But remember that this is a presentational trick. If it's self-working, that means it's made or broken by the presentation, at least in my opinion. And so you really need to focus on the presentation for this. I comment a little bit on that in my tutorial video. And there's also other, techniques that people have added on to this. But at its core, this is something I've done many, many times to people. Just the ability to give the spectators the deck and let them deal down to each other's cards. That's pretty awesome. Okay, next here at number 4, we have the Biddle trick. A spectator chooses a card, you mix the cards, and you're able to narrow down to 5 cards that you think is, one of them is the spectators, one of them is in fact theirs, but you're trying to figure out which one. But then all of a sudden, that card vanishes from the pile of 5 cards. There's only 4 left all of a sudden, and the selected card ends up face up in the deck. This is a great masterclass trick in terms of sleight of hand moves that are great building blocks for you in your magic learning journey. But if you are more seasoned and you're well familiar with Biddle trick and you've kind of discounted it, come back to it. Seriously, there's some cool ways to present it that I've even learned from friends this year that just mix it up that much to make it something to put back in your repertoire. And if you're a beginner, this is absolutely something you should learn. And I do believe I also have a tutorial for this on the channel. And it makes sense that classics would be this high on the list because they are, tested and true. And the weird thing about some tricks is that I feel like Biddle trick isn't like cliche to laymen. I was commenting that earlier on some of these other tricks, is that, you always have to play into that of like, when does something become rote or too expected to laymen? How, when is that point where they've seen it too much? And in this case, I feel like Biddle trick, even though it's a card trick, you could keep showing it to people and they would keep being surprised and fooled by it. Maybe because it doesn't have a sort of tell of like this obvious kind of structure it has, and in fact you're able to present it in many different ways. So it's just an absolutely great trick. If you've discounted it, I encourage you to pull it back out. If you've never tried it, you absolutely need to, because I think it gets great reactions and I think it's a strong piece of sleight of hand magic. Next at number 3 is the 2-card transposition. Now, like I said, there's many methods for this, but I'm thinking of one in particular, which would technically make it not a truly impromptu trick. You need one extra something. And once again, I think this is another one I have a tutorial for on the channel. And then there are other tutorials online as well. Even Illusionist, the magic company Illusionist, has a free tutorial for this on their YouTube channel. And so the classic 2-card transposition, you take a card, you place it in the spectator's hand, you take another card, you wave it, and the 2 have switched places. And the spectator's card can even be signed. Super cool, super strong. I got insane reactions with this trick in college and shortly after college when I was doing it super often. I don't do it as often these days simply because it does need that little bit of extra something, and I just like to not have that in the deck. But some decks even come with that these days. Some magic companies like Illusionist will produce decks and they'll just go ahead and load that extra card you need, and you can be doing it presumably sort of out of the box with that. But it's not much of an imposition and there are ways to clean it up. So this is a super strong trick. It's also very simple and easy to do. So definitely check out the 2-card transposition if you haven't. All right, we're coming down to the wire here. At number 2 is the Chicago Opener. Now some of these I could mix and match around, like I said, so who's to say if on a given day I might think 2-card transpo is, more strong than Chicago Opener, but I think Chicago Opener is a great routine. Similar to what I was saying about Svengali deck, you actually get some time you get to spend with this. 2-card transpo is quick, Biddle Trick is a little longer, Gemini Twins is a little longer. This is one of those that also, you have a few minutes you can actually spend with it, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. That actually, I think, leaves spectators wanting more, which is great. And that's why, hence the name, this is a great opener you can do for people. So the effect is that a card is selected and then it turns blue. And then you place that card to the side, you have another card selected, and then no card has turned blue. What's happening? You go back to the original blue card, and that is now the second chosen card. It's just a perfect little loop and a nice little twist. The only thing I would add to a Chicago Opener is if there was some way to add a third phase, I think it would make it feel more rounded out. But the third phase would have to be an even larger surprise and twist over the second one. And that twist of, just the original blue card being that second selection is already kind of perfect. So it just feels weird to me that there's only 2 phases, but what can you do? It's kind of tightly wrapped in a bow, and you can move on to more magic from there. And if that is your opener, you just get rid of the blue card, and you can move on to your normal tricks with a normal deck of cards. Okay, we've covered a lot of great card tricks in this list, but at number 1, I of course have to say the Ambitious Card Routine. I know, maybe that's obvious to you, maybe it's not, maybe you think, who would put that at their top? But an Ambitious Card Routine is kind of like a litmus test for you as a performer, because if you perform Ambitious Card and you get good reactions, that's shown you a lot about how you have chosen to structure and script your magic, and also that you've tightened that routine to not go for too long, but it also shows off your sleight of hand skill. It's kind of a litmus test to show you how well you're escalating surprises. And then, whatever you choose for that ending to be, it can kind of show you, are you putting that right twist ending into your Ambitious Card Routine? So there is a wide breadth of literature on it, but one resource you can go to for free is the Tarbell course in Magic. I teach a lot from the Tarbell course in Magic on this channel for free. Ironically enough, in this one case, this is actually one that I think I taught on my membership. So there's a lot I give away for free on here. This one happens to be one that I have on my paid membership. I believe at the insider level, there's like a 5-phase Ambitious card from Tarbell, but that's not only the resource you can go to for it. And there's free ones as well. And of course, you can go to Tarbell directly, download it for free on the internet, because it is a classic public domain Magic resource. So it's almost such a broad topic that it's amalgamous to talk about it at the number 1 spot, but I think that also shows its importance in Magic and Magic learning for card magicians. You need to have an Ambitious Card Routine at some point, even if you don't always do it. And it's also just always a good fallback for me. Like recently I had a show where I kind of needed to remove something and replace it with something, or I kind of needed to extend a certain portion. And I just fleshed out, like I had a moment where I only did what would have been 1 phase of an Ambitious Card Routine. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw a couple more phases in there. And I just did a quick, literally like a 3-phase Ambitious Card Routine where I had it come to the top. I had it where it didn't come to the top, but then the top card changed into their card. And then I did card to mouth. And a lot of you magicians will be well familiar with ways to do those 3 phases. But it just is such a great piece of Magic if you do it right, and if you learn how to tighten your structure and routining. And so I felt like it was right to put it at number 1 here. But let me know what you think. How would you have reordered these, or what is in your top 10 list of card magic tricks? And you don't have to do it like I did. 5 gimmicked and 5 basically ungimmicked, but you can list them however you would want to. There's certainly more out there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you liked this, and I will see you guys in the next video for more magic.